Rank 3s have always been pretty widely used in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever since XCs became a thing, as 3 is the second most common level just behind 4. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the ones that have impacted the game the most throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Starting us off at number 10, we have Wind Up Zenmaines. This is a rank 3 fire machine monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense that can be made with any 2 level 3 monsters. It has the effect where if it's destroyed, you can detach one XC's material from itself instead. During the end phase, if that effect was used this turn, it can target a card in the field and destroy it. Zenmaines is notable for being one of the first good rank 3 monsters to be released in the game. This card was often made with Tour Guide from the Underworld, which brings out a level 3 Fiend monster from your deck. While the first batch of XCs had some great options, like Leviair the Dragon, they weren't really the best thing to make on the first turn. This meant that the best thing to do with your Tour Guide of the Underworld often was just to bring out Sand, get a defense position, and then pass on that. This was until Zenmaines came out, which opened up another great avenue of play with a normal summon of a Tour Guide. While it may seem mediocre these days, a monster which could protect itself from destruction twice and pop a card in the end phase afterwards was a huge deal to pain with in 2011. Even if your opponent didn't attempt to destroy it, this monster could still be used proactively as well, as you can trigger its effect during your own turn by attempting to destroy itself with a card like Dark Hole, or just by crashing it into another monster. Even after Tour Guide of the Underworld got hit on the ban list and power creep made it so that ending on a Zenmaines wasn't the most threatening thing you could be doing on your turn 1, this monster kept seeing playing rank 3 strategies for years on end. This was because its pop effect, despite only triggering during the end phase, was still useful as a great way of dealing with problematic cards, especially Floodgates. It gets under both light and shadow imprisoning mirrors, as well as countless other ones such as Royal Decree and Mistake. While Zenmaines doesn't have a niche anymore, its many years of relevancy during older formats of the game earns it at least the 10th spot on this list. And at number 9, we have number 20 Giga-Brilliant. This is another completely generic rank 3 with 1800 attack and defense. It has a single effect where you can detach an XC's material to make all face-up monsters you control gain 300 attack permanently. Having come out in this same set as the previous card on this list, Giga-Brilliant was yet another old XC's that seemed to stick around forever in the metagame. This monster was a decent alternative to Leviathan Dragon when it came for pushing for lethal in later stages of the game. While it wasn't as good as Leviathan at getting over monsters with big stat lines, it was much better at closing out games. Its effect gets better the more monsters you have out, capping out at a 1500 increase in damage if you have a full board of monsters, and that often made the difference in whether you got an OTK or not. The best part was that even if you didn't kill them, since the effect is permanent, you'd retain the attack boost on your whole field. Wind-ups were the first deck to utilize Giga-Brilliant to its full potential, as this card allowed them to go for a bit over 8000 damage off of an easy 2-card combo, such as Shark with either Magician or Tour Guide. Just like Zenmaines, this was one of the best rank 3 staples for years, being present in almost every deck which could get a couple of 3s out on the field. When it finally began to fall off in favor of other options, Digital Blood Corbage was released, which brought it back into the metagame. Corbage is a rank 5 that can also be XC summoned by detaching 2 materials from a rank 3 or 4 insect type XC's monster, and then ranking it up on top of it, and it just so happens that Giga-Brilliant was a generic rank 3 insect monster in the game back then. Corbage's effect on the field is they can detach a material to target a defense position monster your opponent controls and shuffle it back into the deck. This little package would give you easy accessible non-destruction removal off of a rank 3, letting it see play in multiple decks. Its best application was spinning back a defense position Dante, as this was the best way by far to remove it from the field without triggering its floating effect. And at number 8, we have number 49 Fortune Tune. This is a rank 3 light winged beast and it cannot be targeted by card effects. If it would be destroyed by battle or card effects, you can detach material from it instead. Once per turn during the standby phase, it makes you gain 500 life points. And it also has a floating effect where if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to shuffle back 2 level 3 monsters from your graveyard into the deck, and then return itself from the graveyard to the extra deck. Fortune Tune was a niche card for a really long time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. It's a hard to remove rank 3, not unlike Zenmaines, but its lack of proactive effect kept it from seeing that much play despite being much harder to remove due to the target protection. The main reason people played this was either for time, or it kind of worked out well with the old time rules in being able to soak up a battle phase and then give you 500 life points, or for its recycling effect. It could be used to put stuff like Sandgin back into your deck to make your Tour Guide live again, or Gear Gynos to turn on Gear Gaia Gear. However, to everyone's surprise, this card would carve a great niche for itself again all the way into the end of 2020 with the release of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. Zeus has the effect to detach 2 materials to send all other cards in the field to the graveyard, and to be ranked up on top of any XC's monster if an XC's monster has battled that turn. This made it extremely valuable to have a monster in your extra deck that can live through a battle phase. It just so happens that Fortune Tune was by far the best option for rank 3 decks, as it can resist destruction by battle and soak up most back row that might be able to stop you from getting there. Modern rank 3 strategies such as Virtual World and Phantom Knights are almost guaranteed to be on this card, and even if they aren't dominating the meta right now, it's only a matter of time until Fortune Tune is played again. And at number 7, we have number 75 Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. a rank 3 wind spellcaster, which can be made with 2 or more level 3 monsters. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card to make the effect become each player draws 1 card instead. It also targets another number Xyz monster you control and can attach itself and all materials to that monster as Xyz materials. Gossip Shadow comes with a couple of really interesting effects, though the reason why it's so notable has to do almost entirely with its second one. This is one of the few easily accessible ways to add more materials onto an Xyz monster, as it comes from the extra deck. The main reason why this is so good is because of number 86 Heroic Champion Rongo Miniad. That monster gains effects depending on how many materials it has, and with 5 materials it becomes a 3000 beater that is unaffected by card effects, prevents your opponent from normal or special summoning, and can also blow up all cards your opponent controls once per turn. While making a 4 or 5 material Rongo through its regular summon condition was hard enough to make the card not that good for a really long time, Gossip Shadow made the process way easier. It can tuck itself under a 2 material Rongo and get all of its effects online in a far easier way than trying to summon 5 level 4 warriors out. Getting out a rank 4 and a rank 3 was not that hard to set up, especially with Phantom Knights easily enabling both levels. This led to the existence of Rongo Turbo decks, which aims to summon out this amazing boss monster and lock your opponent out of the game entirely. Luckily for the TCG, this strategy was short-lived as Rongo got banned less than a year after Gossip Shadow's release, even if it was enough time for it to get a few tops. However, this kind of deck was still playable in Master Duel for quite a while, and when they eventually hit it, they chose to ban Gossip Shadow instead. And at number 6, we have Salamangreat Miragestallio. This rank 3 monster can detach material from itself to special summon any Salamangreat monster from your deck in defense position, but it locks you out of activating non-fire monster effects for the rest of the turn. Additionally, if this Xyz summon card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Salamangreat monster, you can target and bounce a monster on the field. Miragestallio is by far the best extender for Salamangreat decks, as it does pretty much everything for the archetype. This rank 3 Xyz can easily be made after you activate a Salamangreat Gazelle, sending a Salamangreat Spinny to the graveyard, which can then come back with its own effect and then go into it. Since it's being used as an Xyz material, Spinny won't banish itself with leaving the field, giving you a follow-up during the next turn as well. After that, Stallio can use this effect to bring whatever piece of the Salamangreat engine you're missing. At last, when you use it to go into Sunlight Wolf, you can bounce a problematic monster your opponent has with its graveyard effect too. Even this card's lock is not that big of a deal since it only prevents the effects of non-fires from being activated. You can still bring out monsters whose effects don't need to be activated immediately, such as Baguska or Abyss Dweller. The power of this card was one of the main reasons why Salamangreat was so good during 2019, ranking up there with other behemoths of the format such as Sky Striker, Orcus, and Thunder Dragon, enough that it got banned for a whole year. When it eventually came back, it proved that it hadn't gotten any weaker, as Salamangreat kept on being a great deck around even when looking at the 3 years of power creep on top of it, competing on the same level as 2022 decks such as Sword Soul and Despia. The deck would only vanish from the meta in the later parts of the year, as almost none of the old decks could keep up with the newer releases. But all the events Salamangreat did well in the past guarantees it won't be forgotten so soon. And at number 5, we have the Phantom Knights of Breaksword. This is a rank 3 Dark Warrior monster with 2000 attack, which takes any 2 level 3 monsters to be made. Once per turn, you can detach material from itself to target a card you control and a card your opponent controls and destroy them. Also, if this Xyz summon card is destroyed, you can target 2 Phantom Knight monsters at the same level in your graveyard and special summon back to the field and increase their levels by 1, but you're locked into darks for the rest of the turn. Now, upon release, Breaksword became the go-to option for removal when it came to rank 3s. Cards like Alucard, which only pop set cards, or Zenmaines, which only gets destroyed during the end phase, were all phased out in favor of Breaksword. However, while many strategies did use it and often had some small synergies with it, like Pendulums being able to pop their own scales, or Cosmos popping their ships, they never came close to how much work they put into dedicated PK strategies. In these decks, Breaksword doubles as their best option for both removal and extension. Due to its graveyard effect, PK decks are able to access powerful rank 4s, which their mostly level 3 strategy would not be able to use otherwise, such as Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon for OTKs or Evil Swarm Nightmare for disruption. Not only that, but if you wanted to not use Breaksword's effect to pop itself and keep its body around, you could get rid of a used up Fogblade, which would then be able to special summon a PK from the graveyard. The eventual release of their Link monster, the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche, would only serve to make this card even better. By making a Breaksword under Bardiche's Arrow, you could pop your own Breaksword during the first turn of the game and gain access to a rank 4 even if your opponent didn't have any cards in play. Not only that, you'd be able to bring back the sword from the graveyard with the effect of Fogblade during your opponent's turn, letting you use Bardiche's pop as an interruption too. And at number 4, we have Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, a rank 3 light warrior which can, once per turn, detach material from itself to mill 1 to 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard, and then gain 500 attack for each. If it attacks, it gets changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target another Burning Abyss card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. Dante is the heart and soul of BA decks, which it does pretty much everything for. It enables you to convert your BAs on the field into extract monsters, which can detach material with no prior setup, giving you an easy way of triggering their graveyard effects. If you detach a Graph, for example, you can trigger its effect to summon another BA from the deck and let you continue your plays. The random mill is also extremely relevant, as there's a lot you want to mill in BA, such as Skarm for a free +1 during the end phase. At last, its graveyard effect makes sure your engine will always be running, as you can get back your follow-up if it ever hits the graveyard, or even the BA back row if you have enough monsters available. The existence of Dante allowed Burning Abyss to be playable in some capacity for several formats, letting it become the Duelist Alliance archetype with the most longevity throughout the years. Both Shaddoll and Qliphorts eventually lost their best monsters in Construct and Towers to the ban list, which when coupled with other hits, made the decks fade out of relevancy. But the same did not happen for BA. While other decks in the time period would inevitably fall prey to time, Dante would dodge list after list and manage to stay relevant for several years. Just when this extra deck card trooper was looking like it wouldn't be able to compete anymore, Konami released Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, which can be ranked up on top of Dante easily in BA decks and is essentially a quick effect Leviair chain. This made the archetype viable for several more years and gave it an increased synergy with other graveyard reliant strategies. The versatility archetype let several versions spring up through the years, be it PK-BA, Block BA, Sekka BA, Trap BA, all with one thing in common: Dante was always the main star of the show. And at number 3, we have Leviair the Sea Dragon, a rank 3 wind aqua with 1800 attack, which can, once per turn, detach material from itself to target and special summon a level 4 lower banished monster. Despite being another monster released in the wake of Xyz, Leviair has been one of the strongest extra deck combo enablers in the game, to the point where it's a miracle this card has never been put onto the ban list. There have been countless decks since 2011 which have used this card, enough to fill up a whole video by itself, but here are some examples. Dino Rabbit decks use it to bring back a used Rescue Rabbit and trigger it again for yet another Evolsaur rank 4. Infernity decks use it to bring back banished Stygian Street Patrols, which could use their graveyard effects to summon another Archfiend monster from the hand to get yet another search. Medulce and BA can bring back the monsters banished for the cost of Hootcake and Barbar respectively. These are just some of the more notable uses for Leviair, but it doesn't even scratch the surface when it comes to listing all the decks that used it. This card was useful even in strategies which didn't really banish any of their monsters, as it can bring back your opponent's monsters as well, letting it be used in a wide variety of matchups. When it comes to usage throughout the years, no other card on this list comes even close to matching that of this card, as it's been consistently a good card ever since it came out. Some of the most recent examples of this card seen play have been in Block Dragon BA, as they can get back the monsters Block Dragon banished, and Phantom Knights, as pretty much the whole PK archetypes comprised of level 3s that banished themselves somehow. The latter got such a great use out of the card that they often played 2, as its effect is not a hard once per turn, and you'd be able to use the 2 bodies to go into number F0 Utopic Draco Future. It's unlikely Leviair will ever be power crept or considered a bad choice for rank 3 strategies, and this is why it places the highest amongst the non-banned cards on this list. And coming at number 2, we have Wind-Up Carrier Zenmaity. This is a rank 3 water machine monster with 1500 attack and defense. It can, once per turn, detach material from itself to special summon a wind-up monster from your hand or deck. Also, when a wind-up monster in the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can detach material from itself to return that monster to your hand. Now, we've talked about many great archetypal rank 3s so far, but nothing comes even close to what Zenmaity did for wind-ups. This was one of the first easily accessible extra deck monster that could special summon straight from the deck, and certainly set the trend of power creep, which gives us so many broken extenders like Summon Sorceress and Crystron Halki Fibrax. Zenmaity was made very easily accessible in the West, as Wind-Up Shark was originally a TCG exclusive, allowing wind-up decks to dominate our meta. By using Zenmaity to bring out Wind-Up Hunter from the deck, which could tribute a wind-up monster to rip a card of your opponent's hand on a soft once per turn, and then going into another Zenmaity to bring out Rat to revive Hunter, wind-up decks could rip most of your opponent's hand before they even got to play the game. With easily accessible combos like Tour Guide and Shark or Shark and Magician, you can get rid of 4 cards in your opponent's hand turn 1 while still ending on a Zenmaines for defense. To top it all off, if you also opened a card like Monster Reborn or Pot of Avarice, you'd be leaving them at 0 cards instead. The wind-up hand loop made the game almost unbearable to play against, essentially being an Xyz era version of Goki Gumblar. Similar to that deck, you had to open a hand trap or you'd be losing the game to their combo with no input from your deck. The deck was no slouch going second either, as the same Zenmaity which enabled the Hunter hand loop also made OTKing really easy. Wind-ups would eventually have Zenmaity limited, which made the loop less powerful, and then banned shortly after, which killed it for good. While the TCG has kept Zenmaity banned to this day, you can still play it in the OCG and at Master Duel, as they have Hunter banned instead, letting Wind-Up still exist as a powerful combo deck years later. And finally, at number 1, we have M-X-Saber Invoker. This is a rank 3 Earth Warrior monster which can be made with any 2 level 3 monsters. Once per turn, it can detach material from itself to special summon a level 4 Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior monster from your deck in defense position, but it's destroyed during the end phase. Invoker is by far the strongest card in here, and the only one which cannot be freed from the ban list under any circumstances due to how little future-proofing there is in its effect. It may seem kind of crazy in retrospect, but Invoker wasn't that good when it first came out, because there weren't any good targets for it yet. The first instance of this card seen play was in Wind-Ups after they banned Zenmaity as a weaker version of the card since it can summon Wind-Up Rabbit, which can then banish itself to get around the end phase destruction. The next deck to use it would be Madolche as a way to summon Madolche Messengelato to search the Madolche spell traps. These two were decent enough showings for the card, as it was strong, but not overwhelmingly so. But the next time Invoker came into the meta, it would break the game in two. With the release of the Zodiac archetype, Invoker could now also bring out Zodiac Ratpier from the deck to go into full Zoo combo. Said combo did different things depending on what time period we're talking about exactly, but it often mean going at least +4 while ending on a Dryden for interruption and having a ton of follow-up for the next turn. The way you'd make Invoker in the deck was through Speedroid Terratop, which would give you 2 level 3 bodies for free without needing your normal summon. Zoos were a tier 0 threat for several formats in a row, which warped the whole game around them from inception up until Trident and Broad Bull were both banned. Invoker not only made the entire engine more consistent, it also made them more splashable, as decks which played level 3 enablers such as Boa Baboon and Metal Foes also had access to the Zodiac combo without even having to draw into it. The Zoos left the metagame eventually, but it wouldn't be the last time Invoker saw play, as the Goki archetype would be printed not long after. Almost the entire Goki lineup was searchable with Invoker, as they were all Earth Warriors, leading people to play more level 3s in their builds such as Junk Forward and Neo Space and Aqua Dolphin to go into Invoker and kickstart their combos. This card was essentially a second copy of Isolde, which did not require bricks to bring out a monster. This was the straw that finally broke the camel's back and sent the card to the Forbidden List, where it can never come back from as long as there are good Earth Warriors and Beast Warriors out there. No other rank 3 can break the game as much as this card could, and for that reason it takes up the first spot on this list. Alright, and that's the video. If you happen to know of any other cards you may have missed or have any ideas for future videos just like this one, please let us know down in the comments below.